All right, so hello and welcome everybody, and thank you for joining our Friends from the Field webinar. My name is Brooke, and I am the Education and Outreach Coordinator for the Blue Hill Heritage Trust. I am joined by my co-host, Leah, who is the Administrative Coordinator for the Island Heritage Trust. Friends from the Field webinars are co-sponsored by our organizations and are made possible by our generous donors. So we thank you all for joining our program and for supporting our work. Now, before I introduce our speaker today, I'm going to hand it over to Leah to go over a few expectations and how to communicate with us through Zoom.
Hi, everyone. So just some reminders about how to navigate Zoom. Down at the bottom of your screen, you'll likely see a bunch of icons. One of them is the chat icon, and then you will also see the Q&A icon. So feel free, if you have any questions or comments for Todd throughout the presentation, please go ahead and type them up in either the chat box or the Q&A box. And then at the end of the presentation, we'll wait till the end, and Brooke and I will take turns reading those questions and comments to Todd for you, so we can all listen to his response.
Awesome, thanks, Leah. So today's webinar is called The Wonderful World of Insects in Downeast, Maine, and will be presented by Todd Miller. Todd is a naturalist and educator from Immersion Nature Tours, which is based right in Surrey. And he was an interpretive park ranger in Acadia National Park, an urban park ranger in New York City, an environmental education educator with the National Park Service of Ecuador, and he's had a very long and successful career in conservation. His latest passion is the amazingly diverse world of insects, which we're really excited to learn about today. So Todd, I'm going to hand it right over to you.
Great. Thank you, Brooke, and thank you, Leah. I'm delighted to be here. I have to say up front that I'm not an entomologist, and if I had one of those radio voices where they talk really fast and 6.97% financing, I'd say that you have to take what I say with a grain of salt. That I'm just a lover of nature. I'm not a specialist in any form or fashion, I've been interested in insects, casually since college. I did take a few courses in entomology and invertebrate ecology, but I got my start in nature watching birds, and then moved on to frogs and salamanders, and I've dabbled in a few other groups. But anyway, this is just something that has appeared right at my doorstep, literally. I'll leave my porch light on and see all the visitors that come, take some photos, and then do a little digging around and trying to find out who they are. So with that, I'm gonna hit next, and here just I'll say this first. The moth on the left, I think, is a poster child for insects in Surrey. This was probably the most common insect I encountered in the last 2 years on my front porch. It's a false hemlock looper, and we have a damselfly and some dogbane beetles. Okay, let's see. I'm hitting return, Brooke, but it's not advancing.
So maybe you could try your arrow key.
Yep, I'm trying left and right arrow and return. Let me, any other? Let's see. Oh, okay, I just hit the keypad and
There you go.
very good. Well, I think probably people on the screen know what insects are, but just for fun's sake, they're animals. We know that they're invertebrates, so they don't have a backbone like mammals or birds or reptiles or amphibians. But there are lots of other kinds of invertebrates, jellyfish and worms. And so within invertebrates, they're arthropods. So they have an exoskeleton a hard covering surrounding the body, a segmented body. But there are other segmented invertebrates also, like centipedes and millipedes. They have jointed legs. And in particular, what distinguishes insects from all those other animals are three body parts. The head, and you can see the eyeballs on this robber fly are outsized, just gigantic. And behind that is their thorax, their chest region, so to speak. And beyond that, at the bottom is the abdomen. So three body parts and three pairs of legs. So if you see something with 8 pairs of legs or 52 pairs of legs, it's not an insect. It's something else. So just to say at the outset, some really fantastic resources on the internet are bugguide.net and iNaturalist. You can, you know, Bug Guide is a lot of professional entomologists participate in that. It's not. I don't find it quite as user-friendly as I'd like, but iNaturalist, you can type in, you know, name of a type of insect or where you are, and see lots of photos and information about various things. So let's see, I'm going to hit the pad here and move on. So why should we care about insects? Well, I think it's not an overstatement to say that human life on Earth would cease to exist if it weren't for insects, for many reasons. But just in terms of a few specific roles, they pollinate many of the foods we eat. Something like 30% of all crops are pollinated by insects, and 85% of all wild plants are pollinated by insects. They're decomposers along with fungi and bacteria. If you know, dead trees, dead things just kept piling up and there were no decomposers, there wouldn't be any soil available for things to grow in, and things would stop right there. They're predators in terms of certain groups are terrific biological control agents, dragonflies, for example, wasps and others. They also serve an important food source for other animals. So their prey, you know, all our migratory birds virtually all feed on insects at some point. And then lastly, they're just fantastically curious and fascinating and a wonderful thing to encounter. So with that, say a little bit about insect studies in Maine. There was a gentleman lived on Mount Desert Island, Proctor, in the 20s, 30s, 40s. And he had a particular fascination for insects and did a lot of collecting. And he hobnobbed with some other people that were interested, and did a really very, very thorough investigation of insects on the island, one of the best in New England. And I'll say, give a shout out to the Maine Natural History Observatory, who has kept track of, incorporated all of Proctor's data on their website. So check that out. More recently, the Acadia National Park out at the Schoodic unit have done bioblitzes, and that's basically within 24-hour period, see as many of living things as you can. And at Schoodic, they honed in on a different order of insects each year for those for that decade or so, and finding species that were new to Maine, and I suspect maybe even new to science once the scientists cataloged what was there. Just to say that we don't know everything there is to know, and it's exciting. You can be a part of that. Um, so I'm going to zip through a number of orders of insects. Uh, I'm going to try to stay away from scientific namings as much as I can, but in some cases, you'll see the scientific name. But moths and butterflies are arguably the most numerous in terms of species in Maine, which fascinates me really because beetles typically are the most species-rich group of insects. So just to say, I think we have more than our fair share of moths and butterflies. Um, so they have scaled wings that so people can recognize, I think, a moth or a butterfly from a grasshopper, say, or a fly, because the coverings on their wings. There are some insects that can fool you, caddisflies, and I'll show you a photo later on. But these insects undergo what's called complete metamorphosis, and that's about as technical as I'll get. It's to say that they start out as eggs, they develop into larvae, like caterpillars, and then they pupate. They form a little shelter, a chrysalis or cocoon, and out of that emerges the adult moth or butterfly that has wings. Um, there are about 3,000 species of moths and butterflies in Maine, and more recently I've seen the figure 4,000. So that would probably the discrepancy between those would be in moths. I think we're discovering more and more moths. At any rate, I'm going to continue on here, but butterflies. So how do you tell a butterfly from a moth? If you look at at these photos, look at the antenna. And you can see in each case, each of these four photos, you can see the tip of the antenna has a thickening or a protrusion referred to as a club. And that's what distinguishes butterflies. Moths have either feathered antenna or just straight lines. So if you had the antenna of moths without that club at the end, then you'd be looking at a moth, not a butterfly. But there have been folks in Maine that have done fantastic work, a really thorough survey of butterflies, and data's on the web. These three gentlemen spearheaded this effort, and I'll say that perhaps butterflies could be a kind of a gateway to insects, as birds often are to people, gateway into other exploits in nature. Maybe butterflies would be a good one, in that there's a limited number of species, 120 species in Maine. There's a field guide. These three people have authored a new book called Butterflies of Maine and the Canadian Maritime Provinces. So it's helpful to have a resource to guide you into how to distinguish different species. But there are butterfly counts around the country along the lines of Christmas bird counts, but instead people count butterflies on a particular day. I have had the thought the other morning of wanting to, a little pipe dream of setting up a butterfly count. There's some in Massachusetts. I don't know that there have been any in Maine, but it turns out that the radius of the count are 7.5 miles, which is almost fits perfectly to a T Mount Desert Island. And so it might be fun if anyone is interested in participating in a butterfly survey down the road. If there's interest, I might pursue that. So you can email me. My address is on the last slide. Let's see. So moths, I mentioned the feathery antenna, or just the straight needle-like antenna. Here you can see that feathery antenna. There are about 60 different families Moths are going to be tougher to identify, but recently a book came out, the Peterson Field Guide to Moths of Northeastern North America, which is a terrific resource. I really can't recommend it enough. And it doesn't have every species of moth, but it has most of the ones that you would encounter. Some other resources that you can use are this catalog of butterflies and moths of MDI that was a production of the Maine Natural History Observatory. On the web is a fellow, David Reed, I think is his first name, Moths of Maine. He has about 500 species, photos of 500 species. And then there's a website online, the Butterflies and Moths of North America, which is mind-bogglingly fantastic in that it has photos and then life history and information about various moths. So let me carry on here. The trick of this presentation is of not going down too many rabbit holes. There's so many things I'd like to share. So just to take a deep dive into moths, and I'll try to reemerge very, very quickly so that we can move on. But there are different families of moths. I'm not skilled at distinguishing. If I see a moth, largely I don't know what family it's in. But that alone, learning to distinguish by family, would be a goal of mine. And to identify something, the species is very, very difficult. But again, the resources on the web, AI on the phone has been really fascinating. It's only cropped up in the last year and a half or so. I take photos and then I swipe up and see some suggestions or a little bug icon. I click on that and then some photos will appear. It seems that it's looking at other images on the internet that are similar, and it's getting more accurate. At first, it seemed like it was, I don't know, 75% accurate. Now it seems much more so. But the point being, that can save you some time. So here again is our false hemlock looper. It's a species that feeds on, unsurprisingly, it's common around here because it feeds on spruce and fir, which is the dominant, two dominant trees in the area. So some species are generalist feeders. They'll feed on a variety of plant species in the caterpillar stage of their lives. Other species feed more specifically on particular genera of plants or particular species. Just want to share with you just the variety of colors and forms and patterns. It's just endlessly entertaining. This species on the left, the many line carpet moth, I can't help but notice, it seems to blend in with its surrounding. And this is, by the way, half of the photos that I'm showing you are just on my front porch. So I just go out and take them at night or the next morning, see what showed up. But this one's oriented in a way that it blends in with that vertical patterning, which I think is probably, the siding's supposed to look like tree bark. But I don't think a coincidence that it's oriented this way so that the lines line up with the background. That's evolutionary. It's evolution in action, a behavior that helps them from being seen and detected and eaten. And I won't go into all the evolution around that, but just another fascinating thing. So on the right, the saw wing, I've zoomed in as much as I can on these these moths, and so you won't know necessarily how big they are. But the sawwing on the right has a wingspan of about 2 inches, and others will seem big, but they're really quite small. But let me go on. So some other species, the one in the middle, a bracken borer moth, this would be a more specialist species. It feeds on bracken fern and possibly other ferns. But this family tends to be kind of stocky and I think fuzzy or furry. Uh, and here are some other in that same family. The silver-spotted fern moth also feeds on ferns. A lot of species, many species don't have common names, but I think as time goes by and we learn more, that there will be more common names. The species on the right is an underwing, and these are they're called underwings because their hind wing, and I neglected to say the moths and butterflies have two pairs of wings. So what we're looking at are their front wings, and when they bring those forward, the hind wings are exposed, and the hind wings of the underwings are often very boldly patterned, usually with red or pink or sometimes yellow. Some other moths that I've encountered. The one on the left, the white-marked tussock moth, is another one that was maybe a number 2 in terms of frequency of encountering in my experience here. You might have seen the larvae, the caterpillar, really boldly marked. And if you see, just a little warning, if you see these really furry, finely haired caterpillars, please take a photo, but don't touch them. They can have toxins in the hairs. I think probably it's to be distasteful to birds and other insects, other potential predators. So don't touch. But this Virginia tenuta moth is another fairly common moth species in the U.S. And I forgot to say that some of these have smaller ranges. They occur in Maine, but they could also occur, across the U.S. or across southern Canada and the northern U.S., depending on the species. But that's information that you can, once you kind of, if you're able to identify things to species using some of these resources, then you can look up their ranges, and that's fun to see. Okay, a few more moths, and then we're going to move on to some other groups of insects. This one on the left, the Baltimore snout, the larvae feed on maple. And this was actually when I moved back to Maine a few years ago, at the storage facility. I saw this, and this photo's on concrete right outside the storage facility. I was like, wow, what is that? And so I've since learned it's a Baltimore snout, and that it feeds on maple. And we don't have a lot of sugar maple around here, so and not a lot of other types of maples either. There's occasionally see some striped maple, but they're almost undoubtedly feeding on red maple. Here's another tussock moth that has a common species in this area, and its corresponding larva. So some other moth families, and I'm not going to go into any detail here, but just to say there are lots of different shapes and sizes and forms and patterns, and lots of, I'm like a kid in a candy store going outside and seeing what's about. Again, a few other families of moths. This rose on the right, the rosy maple moth, is a stunning little creature. And just you know, a point of information is, it's that color. You would think how that's gonna, stand out, and it's gonna get eaten, but it may be warning coloration, just in the same way that monarchs are toxic to birds. That bright coloration is a signal that they may be toxic, and other insects can get in on the game and not be toxic, but fake by using that coloration. At any rate, this may be toxic. It may be, or it may not be. It may be a mimic. But another possibility is that it's camouflaged, as it feeds on red maple, and the samaras and the stems of the petioles of the leaves are red and or even pinkish. So this might serve as camouflage, actually, depending on where the animal is sitting. Okay, so I'm going to zip along through some other groups of insects. Beetles, I mentioned earlier, are the most species-rich group of insects. Maybe 25% of all insects are beetles. And in Maine, there are close to 2,900 species. There's an entomologist with the Maine Forest Service, Charlene Donahue, and some others have produced a checklist, very exhaustive study on beetles. There's, I believe, a new field guide out to beetles of North America, and I don't know specifically if it covers the Northeast region, but increasingly there are resources that can help you identify some of these species. Just a shout out again to the Maine Natural History Observatory. They cataloged all the beetle species that Proctor had found. And oh, there it is, Beetles of Eastern North America by Evans. So that's a great resource. I need to do some more shopping. I don't have that one in my library, but and these are dogbane beetles, just exquisitely beautiful, golden green, and they feed on the leaves of dogbane plant species. So very restricted ecological role. And so whenever I if I see dogbane, I just reflexively go looking around for dogbane beetles. They're just fantastic. Some other beetle families. I think in the previous slide I mentioned there are 100 different families of beetles. So it's going to be hard to identify to species any beetle, but if you can get a handle on what family, you're a big leg up. These snout beetles on the left are perhaps the most numerous in terms of species of all the families. I don't have a photo of ground beetles. Those are other very species-rich family. But leaf beetles tend to be very colorful, shiny. Scarab beetles often feed on feces of different animals. Click beetles are a group that you can recognize if you ask them. Well, if you ask them, they'll say no. But if they happen to be on their back upside down, they have a mechanism that they can click. They can snap that thorax, and it'll bounce them right side up after a few tries. So that's a neat thing. Fun with nature. But then please return them don't do too much. That's I can only imagine if someone did that with me, I don't think I'd like that either. But okay, so longhorn beetles. Look at the size of the antenna of these. This may be one of the easier families to identify just because of the length of the antenna, longer than the rest of the body combined. And some other families of beetles. The people know ladybugs. There are different kinds. Fireflies in Maine. There are 15 different species. Some of them, 2 or 3 of them, actually don't light up at night. They attract their mate through issuing chemical pheromones, but the other ones do light up. And just a point of information, which I only learned recently, that the fireflies that light up, we have fireflies in the western U.S., but they don't light up. It's we're blessed with this phenomenon of fireflies that flash only in the eastern U.S. So tiger beetles, I think of as the falcons of beetles. They're super fast. They run fast. They fly fast. They're predators. Just really interesting and colorful and colorfully patterned. There's a field guide to the tiger beetles of North America if you get interested. But the fact that there's just 14 species in Maine makes it possible that you could identify something, the species, which I find on the occasion that I do identify some of the species, an insect, the species, it's very exciting just knowing, there's so many thousands and thousands of species, and at any rate. So moving on, and keeping an eye on the time, we're bees and wasps and ants and sawflies all belong to the same group of insects, an order called Hymenoptera. They have 2 pairs of wings and a narrow waist. So you can see on the ant that narrow waist just before the bulbous abdomen there. And I think maybe some people have noticed that on yellow jackets also. But bees, Maine, there's been a study of bees. Allison Dibble, I believe, did that work. 278 species of bees in a number of different families, but that's a group that also I think would be doable over time to familiarize oneself with. Wasps, there are many more species of wasp, I believe. Ants, I can't identify many ants, but at any rate, this is an important group of insects. They're pollinators, like the bumblebees. The ants are important seed dispersers in eastern North America. They disperse the seeds of wildflowers, particularly spring wildflowers. In fact, back in graduate school, I read a paper that in a forest in New York State, 90% of the stems of flowering plants were dispersed by ants. So they play a role that and maybe that's a microcosm of we don't know the importance of many of these creatures that we live with, so we should take care to protect them. Okay, another large group of insects are the flies. Many different flies, 100 different families. So you're not going to be able to identify to species a good number of these, but if you can try to distinguish, is it a crane fly, or is it a robber fly, or is it a flower fly? Again, that's you're a step ahead. I want to give a shout out to a citizen science project that is just started along the lines of the butterfly survey that's been done in Maine. The same group of scientists are starting a survey of flower flies, and they need people to contribute their photos and observations. This an important group of pollinators. I think currently I've seen the figure about 200 species of flower flies that have been documented in Maine. So, and they're very distinctly patterned. So that might lend towards easier identification. Some other flies, long-legged flies, are one of my favorite creatures in nature. They remind me in a way of tiger beetles, in that they fly very fast, they run very fast, they're brilliantly colored. Just love seeing them. Snipe flies are predatory flies. Like robber flies, and then we all know about deer flies and horse flies and other biting insects, but did you know that some of them are extraordinarily beautiful? And that even goes for, I dare say, mosquitoes. If you get a close look at one, they're pretty interesting. Okay, another group of insects, another order, are called Hemiptera, and these used to be divided into two different groups. But now the scientific name Hemiptera covers the leafhoppers and the true bugs, the cicadas, and some allies that are related. Point being here is that some are predators, some are like assassin bugs. They lay in wait near flowers for other insects to come, pollinators to come along and then devour them. Some are herbivores, like the leaf hoppers and frog hoppers and plant hoppers. And cicadas, there are a limited number. I don't know exactly how many species. I'm going to say on the order of 10 or so, 15 species of cicadas in Maine, but that's just a ballpark idea. They make sounds, and anyway, just such variety in this world. So another group of insects, the dragonflies and damselflies, comprise the order Odonata. Again, there have been some scientists in Maine, Demanadier, Butler, and Brunel have spearheaded a Maine dragonfly and damselfly survey that on the web you can see a list of all the species in Maine, and there's accompanying information about flight periods, when are they active, and this is another group that maybe could interest people into honing in, because there are a limited number of species, and there are some very distinctly colored and patterned ones that you could identify to species. Like some other insects, these are aquatic in their juvenile form, so they live in ponds, streams, and such. So they're important food sources for fish. They're also important predators of mosquitoes, for example, in the water, because mosquitoes also breed in water, as most of you probably know. But the aquatic nymphs of dragonflies and damselflies are predators of mosquito larvae and others. Let's see. Another group of insects are the grasshoppers, katydids, and crickets. And what they share in common is strong, powerful hind legs. I think you probably know these, and identifying the species is a bit of a challenge. I can't do that, but it's helpful to know that there's just 35 or so species of grasshoppers. Fascinating. I've heard some of them making sounds when they fly. And they produce distinctive sounds. There are websites that have recordings of different species that if you have a good ear, you can, and you're very tenacious, you can learn to identify different species of these crickets, katydids, and grasshoppers by their song. So let me skip on here to a few other insect orders. Mayflies, these are other aquatic insects in their juvenile form, as are caddisflies. And lacewings are another important predator. Um, and then just two other random but fascinating groups, the alder flies, fish flies, and Dobson flies. These seem like they're relatively large, maybe 3 inches long, uh, and prehistoric looking, terrifying if you're afraid of insects, but they're not going to hurt you as none of these insects. You know, you can, I think, safely photograph them from a distance and enjoy them. People are afraid of insects, but I encourage you to take photos and enjoy them again. You don't necessarily need to handle them. That's inviting trouble. But okay, so I want to say just a little bit about conservation of insects. There is, in general, insect decline going on around the world. And, in Maine, for example, 25% of the species of butterflies are threatened or endangered or species of special concern. And we know more about that group than perhaps some of the other orders of insects that I've talked about. So, but it could be an indicator, really, that there's a decline across the board in terms of various groups of insects. So, what's the leading cause? Habitat loss is tremendous cause, but also pesticides. The less that we can use pesticides, the better. Invasive species, particularly plant species, are a problem. They spread and take over and reduce the native plant species, reducing food and habitat for native plant species, native insect species. And climate change is a factor as well. Just think, you're changing the plant species, changing the temperatures, environment. So what can we do about this? I think the first thing is what you're already doing is you learn about insects. And two groups that come to mind are locally the Maine Entomological Society. They have a good presence on the internet and Facebook. You can join them. They have some activities. Nationally, internationally, there's the Xerces Society. Xerces, by the way, is the scientific name for the genus of a North American butterfly that went extinct. So they have a lot of resources, guides to identifying, guides to what you can do to help insects, and ultimately, the next thing would be taking action. And what you can do is help preserve habitats. I'm thinking of all the good land trusts, what the Blue Hill Heritage Trust and Island Land Trust has been doing. Help them out. Citizen science projects like helping with this upcoming flower flies survey. What can you do? You can plant native species around your house. So with that, I'm surprised that I didn't run about 6 hours long. I'd like to entertain any questions that you may have.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Todd. That was amazing. Everybody, please go ahead and put some questions in if you'd like. As Leah said, right into the chat or the Q&A, either one's fine. Todd, oh, also an email Todd if you're interested in a butterfly count. I love that little pitch. So, but I have one question before, as others are thinking of theirs. I'm guessing these photos are all yours, Todd. What do you use to take your photos with?
Yeah, I have an iPhone.
That's it?
It's
Nice.
an iPhone 15, I think, and it was a bit of a splurge, but it's a passion, and I got it specifically for the camera, and I think I got the iPhone Pro or whatever the upgrade was to it, that model. So just taking photos with the iPhone and a little trick. I've taken a lot of bad photos, a lot of bad photos. Just this common sense. Try to hold your hand still if you can. Brace your hand against something solid, a tree trunk or the side of your house. That's better. If you zoom in, you'll notice, I don't know how other phones work, but you can zoom into the highest magnification is 0.5 on my phone, as opposed to, or actually it's zooming out, now that I think of it, zooming out to 0.5 instead of zooming in like 10 times or 20 times, that you get less pixelization in the photo. But then when you zoom out, then you need to approach as closely as you can to the insect, and then try to get a little bit of habitat with it while you're at it. So thanks for asking.
And it looks like we do have a question in the Q&A here. So I'm happy to read that out. This question is from Randall, and he's asking Todd, what tours does your group go on?
Oh, thank you. Thanks for asking. I lead tours around Downeast, Maine, and I'm happy to go to Mid-Coast Maine. The idea is, let's go out, a group of people, a family, or people who are visiting from out of state, coming to Acadia, let's say. I've led tours in Acadia. Just whatever your passion is, we can just we can focus on birds. We can focus on on flowers or plants, or we can just take it as it comes and see what highlights the day presents for us. So I have a website, immersionnaturettours.com, and I'd be delighted to take you around. So thanks for asking.
I will add too that Todd, I wasn't able, it was actually, I think right before I was hired or right after I was hired, Todd did a bird walk for the Blue Hill Heritage Trust early last year. So, so yes, look out for not just with you help out other organizations locally too, Todd, which is great. So while people are thinking maybe more about other questions, I just want to, well, first of all, thank you, Todd, for being with us today and for sharing your knowledge and for advocating for insects. I really love that. I think that a lot of folks just look at a little brown moth and don't really think about how beautiful it is when you look up close. So I really appreciated those photos and for advocating for insects in general. I'd also like to thank Leah for co-hosting. This is the first time with us today, so thanks so much for being here, and we look forward to seeing you again too in the future. And of course, all of our supporters like you, like I said in the beginning, programs like this are only made possible because of our supporters and our generous donors. So if you have donated to either of our organizations in the past, we thank you. If you're interested in donating to either the Blue Hill Heritage Trust or the Island Heritage Trust or both, please visit our websites or get in touch with our offices. Next month, we will be joined by researchers from the Island Soundscape Project. Their research takes place locally on the Blue Hill Peninsula, Deer Isle, Cranberry Isles, and other nearby areas. So please visit our website or social media for more information about that. So it looks like we have gotten to the questions, but if anyone does have anything that they think of later on, please reach out to Todd. You can also reach out to Leah or myself, but Todd is very willing to take questions on his email too. So I guess it is goodbye for now, but thank you so much. And thanks everybody out there for joining us.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
thanks,
you.
Leah. Thanks, Todd.
Everyone. Thank you, Todd. That was
My
wonderful.
pleasure.
All right, and Todd, we can be in touch later. Leah, I'll talk to you soon too.
Okay, that sounds
Okay.
great.
Bye.
Good night.
Thank you
Bye-bye.
both.
You're welcome. Thank you.